Welcome to Here's How We Get There. It's the daily show filled with conversations about business and mental health in a down-to-earth style with real-world language. Now let's dive in with your co-hosts, Kenneth Shark Kinney and Trey Tucker.
All right, Shark, there's a lot of challenges out there in the hiring world, specifically recruiting challenges, and you and I both do some consulting work, some speaking work with various companies and organizations. So what advice do you have for them at a time like this?
Well, an earlier part of my career, I spent over a decade in recruiting, and that was really when you look back at the way we recruited then versus even today, it's so much different. Now, the job market's a lot tighter, and it's going to stay that way even in downtimes. Now, some of the things that are happening with artificial intelligence, who knows how it's going to change that. But really, I think one of the most important things that's affecting so many people is you got to think a little bit about the bet that people put on you when they're considering you. You're not being hired necessarily into a job. You hear a lot of things where a lot of young people only think about the values you share, and some of that's true, some of it's not when it comes down to actually having plenty of job offers. But one is you've got to really create an environment of trust, because they're placing a bet on their future with you and how they move ahead. It's not like where the C-suite in the past would just throw everybody into a role. You put out a cattle call and get a lot of resumes, and you can get the wrong kind of people. But if you're wanting somebody to stay with you for a lot of years, you've got to change that C-suite culture from C-suite to the we-suite, and pull everybody on your team that you can, make them involved in the process, get them to where people have that transparency that's built through trust. So what do you think?
Yeah, the same idea. And in order to get trust, you've got to be authentic. You got to be authentic yourself, because especially young people, they can see through BS so easily. I think of a scene in the movie Air recently that came out, and the Jordan family is basically going to visit all these different companies that want Michael to be with them. And one of the things that Michael and his mom can see right through is some of those companies, they're just putting on a show. And people can just detect whether you're being authentic or not. So I'd say authenticity is one, and then focus on mentoring. Because again, especially people that are younger in their careers, obviously they want to be paid well, they want a good culture and what have you, but they also want to know, how am I going to be able to grow? And not just other opportunities, but are there people you're going to introduce me to that can help me take the right steps in a mentoring capacity?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, especially about mentoring, because people want a great boss, but they want to see you use the verb lead. They don't want to just see you as a leader. They want to see their bosses lead them in an area where they can trust them. And if you do that, and we help explain what it is you're doing for the rest of the world and for them and everything else, creating that right kind of culture that is outside of the boardroom with just the C-suite, it really has to reflect, because otherwise they're going to call you out. And another movie example of that, another Air movie, is Up in the Air with George Clooney, where they go in and they lay off people. People lost the value of trust, and it got exposed a lot more during the pandemic. But over the last 2 decades, people don't trust at all the companies that they used to work with, and probably shouldn't, because it's transactional. But if you're talking about, myself or my family or my mortgage or anything else, where else are you going to invest a 30-year mortgage with a company? You're not. You're not thinking of it that way anymore. You're hoping to build out a 2 to 4 year relationship. But if you want to recruit me or anybody else to be with you for a lot longer, you've got to create an environment where people can trust you with authenticity, like you said, with transparency, and a place where they can grow.
Absolutely.
So I guess we'll see you on the next show.
Thank you for joining Shark and Trey on the Here's How We Get There show. Make sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the show, and visit here'showwegetthere.com. That's here'showwegetthere.com.